We are live. Howdy, everybody. This is Steve KM9G. I'm joined by my friend Jim from FEP Labs Radio, and in the center ring, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, coming to you live from the center ring is John Kruk from Yaesu. John, how are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you guys?
I am doing pretty good. We are 2/4 of Coffee and Ham Radios, bringing you a Coffee and Ham Radios special event, an interview with John Kruk. John,
I thought we were 3/6, man.
We could be 3/6 also.
I want to be 3/6.
John, tell us about your hobbies. Tell us about your interests.
Well, I like long walks on the beach.
Don't we all?
The other hobbies. Yes. Radio, I guess. Radio, right? Because who doesn't want a hobby that will go ahead and spend lots of money and do numerous things and make your wife mad at you sometimes when you spend that money, unless she happens to be in the hobby yourself, which mine is. So I'm lucky on that.
I was going to say, are you talking about a boat? It sounds exactly like talking about a boat.
No, she has this horrible habit of thinking it's funny to go ahead and see the radios I got, and then if she likes that radios, then magically
they're hers.
It's her radio. So
I know how that works.
I can't argue with that. I'm not going to
argue. I too am married.
Radio? Does your wife radio?
She does. She actually got into it a long time ago because of Skywarn storm spotting. Where I live, we had a bunch of tornadoes that came through 10. It's got to be longer than that now. 15 years ago now, maybe, and stuff like that. So she got into it for that purpose, and then because she's kind of always had it ever since. She's not really active too much, but she does know a little bit about the hobby. And guess what? It allows me to put a radio in her car.
Ooh. Sweet.
Yeah,
I'm working on mine with the GMRS. I'm gonna. It's like a gateway radio.
Oh, it is. Yes.
Because I got the GMRS license. I'm like, baby, this covers you now. You can talk on this. And the next thing we'll have is a GMRS repeater, maybe, and who knows.
Yeah, that's how I'm getting the kids into it is GMRS because they're too afraid. They're too afraid right now to kind of get on, and they're working on their test. But yeah, it's definitely a gateway kind of thing.
It is. Morton is asking, how do you get the rest of the family into radio? Morton, we're going to answer that in a future episode of Coffee and Ham Radio. So make sure you hit the subscribe button down below the video here and look for that coming up on a future episode because that's a much longer topic than we have time for today. But today we're going to talk about remote controlling radios and specifically about remote controlling Yaesu radios. But some of this stuff will carry over for those of you people who like other kinds of radios. We won't mention their names with John here, but we will talk about them behind his back in a future show.
I just cover my eyes.
Ears.
No.
You have to cover your ears.
I do. I just
cover your eyes won't help.
Close your eyes, John. Close your eyes.
Yeah, I won't put anybody on a list. No.
No. I told you they had one. That's how they get you.
It's not an official list. It's just you won't be able to operate a Yaesu radio. I got actually accused of that at Hamvention. I know I saw you there, TO and stuff. And someone accused me. They came up to me and they said, why do you guys have the ability that you can kill my Yaesu radio? And I said, what? And he's like, yeah, you guys have the ability to kill Yaesu radios. That's why you have special codes. And I laughed. The toaster laughed. We recorded it, that kind of thing. So it's all fun and games, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But
there's a black helicopter circling during that conversation.
Well, it's kind of like I don't know where people would get that from, but no, well, it is what it is, right?
Too much RF exposure.
Yeah. Maybe I would say that, but I didn't have that much RF exposure there. We were looking at starting at PPOTA on there. Yes. You guys heard about that, right? Porta potties.
I did. It was way too hot inside those porta potties, though.
It was. We started on the way back. We got a whole thing. We got shirts now. We got everything.
Excellent. Looking forward to it.
So, but remote control, that's the name of the game. And the reason I personally like remote control and I started to really kind of enjoy what we have kind of coming from Yaesu is just a simple fact. I'm in my basement, which is in essence my shack. And the issue that I run into a lot of the time is that, guess what? I don't want to be in my shack all the time. The kids want to be outside. And the wife wants me to be upstairs with her or something like that. Not necessarily doing anything, but kind of just sitting and spending time or whatever. Or more importantly, just kind of being able to pick up your radio or I should say your computer without having to get up and go downstairs or do whatever you have to do on there. And that's where we kind of started to look at how we can do remote setup. And of course, the first one we decided to come up with was with interface to the FTDX 101. And that translated down also to the FTDX 10. Now, how do you accomplish remote control? That's the biggest thing. And the reason I say that in that way is because there's it's just like with any networking thing. Do you go and have it set up that it's all within the radio? It's a interface, it's on the user end, those kind of things like that. Different manufacturers employ the technology in many different ways, hands down, just like anything else. Everybody looks at it from their kind of way. What we did is we wanted to take a look at something where it didn't have to be in the radio, because let's face it, not everybody wants to remote. Okay, you can't remote, let's say your FTDX10 when you're out there on the top of a mountaintop, right? It's not going to do anything. So why have to pay extra? Why pay money into something that you may never use? And the flip side of the coin is that it's also nice, because if you have multiple rigs, you can actually move that in between the actual rigs itself. And that's kind of where we came into it with the FTDX10 and the FTDX101, with using what we call the SCU-10 LAN unit. Now, let me see if I can pull this picture up here real quick here. See if I can share my other screen here. Let's see. Yeah, we'll do that. And then I gotta put this one up here real quick. So that is the FTDX10 unit, the SCU LAN 10 unit. And if you're familiar with our digital voice line and stuff like that, guess what? Guess what that looks a lot like? It looks like the HRI 200. Exactly.
Yep.
So we kind of are in imploring that same kind of concept of saying, hey, here we go. Here's what we do. Here's why we want to do it. Those kind of things like that on there, because it really is the aspect of like how we wanted to do remote control. Now, and I see this other question just popped up there and stuff like that. We had an issue. Okay. And here's what it is. The FTDX10 and the FTDX101 are very top of the line radios. All right. They employ the SDR technology. They employ it's kind of been known to call the quote unquote hybrid technology on there. But we do that because we know what SDR's qualities are, which is what its worst things is, which is it receives too well. So what we had to do is we had to take a look at it. It's like, why are people using, or why would people want to use a remote radio or a remote operation? Well, we based it down on some principles. We based it down on some priorities. And the priority we came up with, obviously, is voice. Then it kind of breaks down to sort of like other data modes out there. But we're hampered by something. Initially, the SCU LAN 10 was designed to be a LAN network only. So basically, you hooked it in your house, you hooked it up to a radio, and then you go anywhere in your house, plug into your Ethernet connection in the house, and then you'd be able to operate it from there. That is okay, because you have certain characteristics, certain standards, right? But we knew this. We knew that if we only limited it to doing it in the house, guess what's going to happen? People are going to be upset. They're going to say, hey, I want to be able to remote, like truly remote. Okay. So then when we were done designing it, we said, okay, well, what can we do? Well, how do we do it? Well, then we said, well, we can do it on a Wi-Fi network. But then we realized that it needed to go larger. It needed to go on a WAN concept of basically someone being in their home in California and then someone visiting Wisconsin, or vice versa, however you wanted to say it. But then we were hampered by something else. And that basically is the internet. And I don't know about anybody else, but like, for example, from a Yaesu standpoint, we were going ahead and we were going to do live broadcasts from the Yaesu booth. And guess what happened? The internet was horrible. We were having great internet, 150 meg down, 50 meg up. And the minute the show started, and I think everybody's cash registers from the dealers we had on both sides of our booths keyed up and all that stuff like that. And then everything just went down the drain. Like we were 3 meg. And that's if we were lucky. But that actually plays into a significant portion of it, because now here's what we have to do. How can we gauge, or how can we balance the internet? And we can't. We have no control over the internet. We'd love to think that we have control over that, but we don't. And that's why right now we are only using it for voice capabilities. But why can't we use it for other modes? What is our concept of that? Well, the concept is that, first of all, when you look at the radios on the 101 and the FTDX10, in no way, shape, or form do we deploy averaging. And there's a reason. And I know this is like a left Twix, right Twix thing, like horrible acid reflux causing things for people. And the reason we don't do that is because with the 10 and the 101, you will actually see a signal probably before you hear it. Okay. And we didn't want to do that with averaging. If you average that weak signal that you have there that's barely showing up out of that baseline of noise on there, you're averaging, it's just going to go. It's just going to disappear right away. So therefore we said, well, if we're going to do LAN usage, we don't want to cut that off. We want to be able to people have the full control. We want to be able to see on the 101, see both receivers on the FTDX10, be able to do the full functionality of it. And that is where we came in and we said, you know what, we're going to concentrate on the voice aspect of it for now, and then we're going to proceed from it later. Now, people have asked, what about CW? What about FT8? Well, that's where it comes into difficulty, because when you're dealing with jitters, when you're dealing with buffers, when you're doing everything you have to deal with in an IP environment of passing traffic, that can actually be delayed. We have tried doing some slow CW on there, and people have tried it, and it's not worked well, because by the time the buffering of the internet and everything goes through, because it's really not a direct connection. If you know what I'm saying, it's, you got to go through there. But what was happening is, by the time people are sending fast on the other end, it's coming out as a solid tone.
Yeah.
And that's where it sucks. It really does suck. So then it kind of is like, well, what do we do? How do we try to control the internet when we can't control the internet? And that's the next chapter of the story.
Excellent. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple people. Thump in the chat says that he was able to get FT8 to work on it, and I know that he's a wizard. He can do a lot of different things, and so that means that there is some promise that it will be for the masses here pretty soon.
And and that's the other thing too, is that we know there's a lot of skilled people in there, where we have to come into it and we have to kind of do it from the aspect of, it's like, how can we do it as a plug and play?
Right.
Like, I'll give you an example, like with the wires X cables and stuff, where we had to deal with this Windows 11. Some people got it to work. I got it to work myself. I feel that I know a little bit about computers, or enough about computers to do it. But from the manufacturer standpoint, we have to do something that I hate this term, especially in IP usage, is plug and play. Okay. Yep. But we have to kind of have that as that solution on there. So yes, there is ways you could do sound card. We've actually heard of people that have actually done, before the SCU-LAN 10, because the 10 and the 991 even and the 101 have built-in sound cards and stuff, that they have been able to pull some of that data into a computer and sort of take the output of the 101, take the output of the 10, put it in the computer with sound cards, and kind of do, for right. sake of a general better term, a remote desktop. Yeah, that can do it on there. But for that one plug and play solution on it right now, it's only, unfortunately, voice.
Yeah, and I can kind of respect that in both directions. Like, as a ham radio enthusiast, as a hobbyist, as a computer nerd, I can make things do things that other people can't. But like you're talking about, if it's written on the side of the box that the LAN 10 can do FT8 over IP, I want to open it up, I want to plug it in, I want to hit the button, I want to be FT8 right away. And if I'm not, I'm going to be complaining right to you. And I get that. And I think that's kind of a weird situation, where I really do want ham radio to be more mainstream and more plug and play, like you said. But at the same time, it's also supposed to be like, we're supposed to be taking this equipment to levels that it's never been taken to before, because that's the nature of what we do. We're experimenters, and we have a license to experiment. So
yep.
I don't know.
And the other manufacturers kind of approach it the same way as Yaesu. They really do, because I have some experience with the other manufacturers, and it's the same kind of deal. It's great for voice, and when you get into anything else, it starts getting dodgy because of the buffering and delay over the internet. It's running UDP. I assume the LAN 10 connection is UDP. So that's correct, best effort. Throw it out there. Maybe it'll hear it on the other side or not. It's not a established two-way conversation kind of thing. Right. So it's not just a Yaesu thing. And I totally understand from what you said from a marketing standpoint. You want it to plug in and work and go. And if you try to do the FT8 thing,
that's pretty,
in that software remotely, you're going to have all sorts of timing problems, right?
Right. And this is an example that I just pulled up of the picture is why we're doing it this way and why we're focusing on voice. I mean, if you take a look at this, you can kind of see here. I mean, on the 101 here, this is your main receiver. This is your sub receiver on there. You have all those function controls. You have that 3DSS technology. You have the scopes and stuff that you want on there. I would venture to say, now mind you, I'm not in engineering in any way, shape, or form. Just want to clarify that. But I would even venture to say that if we probably took away some of that aspect of what you can do on the 101 in the front, such as the 3DS here or 3DSS, such as the heavy duty scope and waterfall display and seeing those small signals. And guess what? They probably could fit data down on there. But now the question is that what do you do? Do you sacrifice the beauty and the brilliance of what the radio has for operational aspects to put down other stuff in there that some people may want, but then other people may not want? I've heard both sides of the tale. I've heard people come up to me and saying, you know what, John, I love your FTDX10. I love your FTDX 101. And I have the SCU-LAN 10. The guy has his 101 at home in Wisconsin here. He's a what do we call him now? Not frequent flyers. Fair weather residents. He goes down to Florida all the time.
Snowbirds.
Snowbirds. There we go. Yeah, I don't know what the politically correct term was.
Frequent flyer. That's good. I know what you do for a side.
Yeah. That's later this weekend. But then he said it's great because he can hop on. He brings his 10 with him down to Florida, and he has his 101 at home. He could do the best of both worlds. He said, if something's opening up towards us and nothing down there, or he'll work a couple bands at one time, one physically and one remotely. So, it's there. And then I've heard the same complaint of people saying, you know what, I want to be able to do this and this and this. I don't care about the pretty display and stuff. And you're right. You want the display, or you don't want display, you want functionality, but then it's kind of like, our hands are kind of tied,
Right.
Well,
yeah, you got to start with step one, which is let's radio, and then work your way up from there.
Right. Mm-hmm. Do one thing very well. Don't try to do everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is.
In there, right?
And it is, and we've, like I said, we fully understand that. We don't want to. We're not trying to cause problems. We're not trying to say our way, or as people have been told, our way or the highway and stuff like that. And it's like, no. I'm going to bring up another picture here. It's a bad screenshot that I had, and I'm working on a new one, so bear with me. I apologize. But this kind of gives you a little bit more of an on depth, on direct look, if it's not too horrible, of the screen here. But like I said, you basically have all the functions and controls that you normally would on the display. Because if you think about the 101, normally this area here is across the top, and then this takes across the bottom. Now, as you see, you can actually pull it out. This is your full screen. Now you can really start to see deep into those signals. And then here you go. You have your controls over here, which maybe you need to adjust a little bit, but not that much. So it is, like I said, it is kind of a little bit of a work in progress. And we got to be doing something right, is what I joke along and say, is because we have a high demand for it right now. We've had, we're on back order status right now. And part of that, unfortunately, is related to the component issue and stuff like that on there. But it is something we are working hard on. You can only, I guess, do so much, right? And then try to make it work. But to give you a little bit more of in-depth insight on here, let me open up my screen now that I got the right screen up here. Someday technology will catch up with me. But this is kind of a concept layout. Now, of course, what we did is we did it with the FTDX 101 in the picture, because that's really where the SCU-LAN 10 came out. The SCU-LAN 10 wanted to reside, is with the 101. But we did it with the FTDX 10. And the other thing we're doing is we are actually trying to work with it to go backwards compatible into the 991. Talking a little bit about maybe getting into some other legacy radios, but then at least going forward, as we're doing more HF radios now, we could be able to do that. The issue that comes into the older radios is that the 101, the 10, and the 991 have a built-in sound card. So that's where a lot of it will come into play too, is that because you got to make sure that everything is compatible. That LAN is just, as you see in the picture, that interface network between the station stuff. And then, of course, one other big thing that really causes a lot of problems for us is this right here. Not the software, but the computers. Because honest to God, I believe computers are like snowflakes. There is no two that are alike. And I mean, we'll get calls of people all the time saying, hey, I'm having some issue with the LAN. I'm having some issue with wires X. I'm having some issue with sound card interfaces, programming and stuff like that. And it all comes down to it's something on the computer, it's something on this and this. And then once you get through, the driver's aspect down there. But one thing, and this kind of goes into what I said, is so we wanted to handle, here it says transmit, receive voice, RF scope, AF scope, CAT commands to the transceiver, the band status monitor scope, the various filter settings, interference reduction functions, etc. Everything basically you can do from the front of this radio or the FTDX10, we wanted to have that come down into this radio. So, and you can even see it here. For an example, here you got your noise blanker, your digital noise reduction, digital noise filtering, notch, contour, shift, width, those kind of things. We needed to bring that forward because that is another key concept of when you're doing remote control is I could sit in front of my 10 here. And I will tell you this, hands down, people say, well, there's no filters you could really buy for the 10. No, you don't need them. You need your contour, your notch, your and your filtering and your shift. That's all it is. I mean, you can take this FTDX 101, you can take the FTDX 10, and I've taken single sideband conversations to the point where I've adjusted them that it, honest to God, sounds like AM talk radio. And
Nice.
and we can't give that up. I mean, I hate to say it, that's what drives you to the radio. Well, yeah, that's what drives you to the radio. You want a radio that's going to sound good and do that. So that's where this statement kind of right here is a big thing of like, wait a minute, we can't lose that. And I guess this kind of goes to, I guess if you want to put an overall blanket and, people who are listening to take away, why can't it do that? If you sacrifice voice, you're only going to be left with data. And if you're sacrificing voice for data, that's not good. And if you
to your point, to be perfectly honest with you, there are so many other ways to do remote control data that voice is where you should focus.
Well, and that's exactly right, because I was remoting with a different radio and a lower tier model radio, and I didn't have all that. But there's, like Steve's saying, there's 20 ways to remote drive your radio.
Exactly, and that's where it all comes into play, is because if you have one mainstream, what are you going to sacrifice to bring something into the mix? Because we're not saying like, okay, we have voice, we have data, how can we improve data? Then we're going to take a little bit away from voice to improve data. No, unfortunately, we don't have data in this case at all right now. We don't. We're not going to lie it or hide it. But then how much do you take away from voice to try to put data in there when, like you guys said, there's different things? It's like people, will say it's like other radios, like, if you get more into our VHF, UHF line, well, how come you don't, build an actual, a modem into the radio and stuff like that on there? Why do you just have the data jacks? Leave it on our HF. Why do you have the data jacks? We've had some people say, why don't you put this in your radio? Why don't you put an FT8 thing in there? It comes down to simple facts is that there's so many, Steve, kind of you said, there's so many different ways we have progressed in amateur radio and how we do experimentation and everything like that. Why would we lock you into one thing? Let the sky be your limit. Let be able to use our equipment to it. Use our data interface. Use this. Use that. I mean, I could tell you, I've used on the 991 as a clear case in point. I've used that data jack not for data, but for voice applications to cross over stuff to other voice bands. Right. I mean, it's kind of there. And I, like I said, I do hear the people. I do feel the people. I'm not a big FT8 guy. I do a little bit. I know. Are you okay? I know.
You said feel the people, and I was, never mind. Can't talk about that on stream.
I needed to defibrillate because he said he didn't like FT8. I was like, what?
Here, I'll be honest with you. Here's me. I don't have much time to do radio. I don't have much time to do radio as it is. So when I sit down, I just usually like to just throw the call out there and stuff. But I'm getting better. I happen to have an antenna that's just about complete. Hint, hint.
Awesome.
And I actually went and not to digress off the point, but I got myself a very inexpensive 12 volt 18 amp hour lithium
LiFePO4
from Cabela's.
Cabela's, wow.
Cabela's,
What?
yeah, $140, $150, I think it was. Yeah.
For your oh crap, I've got one sitting on the bench in the room. The ice fishing thing.
No,
Can't remember the name of
it wasn't even that. I just got the battery itself.
Right.
I was looking at the kid there, but yeah, that's kind of what they've used for and stuff. But I was looking, I'm like, hey, I got a gift certificate for it, and actually, my wife had the
Vexilar.
gift certificate. Vexilar, mine was a Traxxer.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was, but now I'm going to be able to go out on the porch or go out and about off the grid, as they
Boot
say,
in a boot
with FTDX 10, my 991 and 891. So, but getting back to it, I mean, this is kind of where we sit at there. And we feel that, where we're at, we're going to expand, we're going to continue, but to have that much data come through with this, I think is pretty good.
So Kyle's asking a question, and I'm sure it's completely unironically, but he's asking if there's a way to operate a foot pedal remotely to key the PTT.
It would be through the because when you do it remotely, I'll pull the computer picture back up. When you do it remotely, you're actually using the microphone of the computer here.
So is it Vox?
No, you could take the mic, you take your mouse and you put it over to PTT. So
Okay.
you'd move your mouse, or if you have a touchscreen, I guess I would say that you could just tap it on the touchscreen. But I guess you could put a mouse on the floor and have your mouse over it and put a
does that PTT have a hotkey like spacebar or Alt P or Option D or something like that?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know, because for me, that's my old dispatcher days that we use the mouse button on there. So
right.
like I'm used to that. I guess well, yeah, it would, because technically in Windows you can map stuff. So you could probably do some third party mapping.
So possibly, Kyle.
Possibly, Kyle. I don't know. Sorry. But yeah, that's what it is. Because like I said, you operate through the PC. Now, what I've done when I did mine a few times is I had my Microsoft Surface tablet, and when I was able to do that, I actually put the microphone, like the headset, into there, and I just kind of wore the I call it the old Nokia type headsets, where you could add the speaker and the mic and everything in one, no Bluetooth, nothing. And I plugged that in there, and I was actually holding the tablet, and then I could take my thumb on the right hand side and tap the PTT button. That's how I was doing it.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question, Kyle.
Yeah, so Kyle's also a big fan of Node Red, and he and Don have been talking in the chat in between the conversation about acid reflux and GERD and all that other kind of stuff that you started earlier, about Node Red, and wondering if there's any kind of API connections or any way to link into the software so you can do some more automation type things.
No, we don't tend to. We kind of look at this sort of to a degree, sort of like how Wires X is where we're not releasing any APIs or anything like that on there right now. That doesn't necessarily mean maybe something won't change in the future, but there's no nothing third party interfaced as it is right now. We don't usually do that too much especially on the HF stuff, because everybody else just kind of does their own thing and then just interfaces somehow into there. I'll give you like Ham Radio Deluxe and who's the other one someone told me about yesterday?
SDR control.
Maybe it was SDR. Maybe I don't know.
Only, but
yeah. There was another few that someone told me at Hamvention, and they went along and they sent me an email because I sent them. I said, hey, I forgot what you were talking about. And they said,
there's a win for ICOM, and I think there's a
Yaesu. Maybe that's well, I know win for Yaesu, but that's a good case in point. Is everybody's just like, hey, I don't like this, so I'm going to go make my own connection. Okay, great. Right. That's why we list in the manuals. Hey, here's what they all do. Here's what your values are. Here's what it is. Have a happy.
So will this do cat control through the LAN interface?
It works in a way through cat control, because if you think about it, it's kind of like what you're doing on the computer software acts as cat control in a way, because remember, the sound card is going and giving you the output or the input for the audio aspects of it. But then, your other functions that I had up on there, which was like your, what do you want to say? The, Let me pull it up here again. Get bigger here. And then down in the right-hand corner here, where you kind of see these kind of go into some of those cat control functions on there. And that's why it says cat commands to the transceiver, because these are actually impacting cat functionality.
So this is a single wire into the back of the radio. How does it connect to the radio?
Yeah, correct. Let me pull up my other picture here real quick.
Let's see some pictures of that backside, John.
Is that the DIN connector?
No. Well, no. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. Because it does have the cat interface on there, and it does. Come on, computer.
Hello, computer.
Classic.
I think that was the best part of that movie, where he picks him out,
Classic.
hello, computer, and then he's like typing in 1,000,000 miles a minute.
Kruk, see, this is why you're good people right away. You know Star Trek references from 40 years ago, man. That's awesome.
Hey,
40
I
years
saw
ago.
I saw 3, 4. I saw 3 and 4 in the theaters.
I
Nice.
saw all of them in the theaters.
So here you go. Here's what it is. So basically what you're looking at, the DC input on there. This is obviously going to connect to your internet. So like your router on there. And then you have that cat RS-232C that's just going to have to go to your cat control on there. And then you also have the accessory port on there to interface to your accessories. You have an audio in and out port on there, and then you have your DC in port. So there is some of that functionality and how you need to connect this wire into there to be able to access a wide variety of it. It's not, I hate to say, it's not one simple plug. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, how many of these plugs are actually needed? Because some of these look redundant based on what I know of that accessory connector.
What is the USB cable for? Right. Yeah.
So the USB cable kind of can go interface into the actual sound card itself on there if you're not going to do audio in and out. This audio in and out and this kind of duplicate on there, because remember, when we built it, we didn't build it for this model and then then we have to redo it to do other models. We kind of opened it up across the board to say, hey, we plan to offer integration and backwards compatibility stuff. So that's where this cable is going to go into your sound card. If you don't have a sound card input on there, so let's use an example. Let's say the 991. When this eventually, the plans are to get it working with the 991.
I was going to say, yeah,
that USB is not a sound card. That USB is for control.
Right.
So your USB here could go for control, and then you have to do audio in and out. You know, and then once again, your accessory connector on there, or your cat RS-232 controller. Once again, depending on which model of radio that you're using.
Okay, cool. So this is multi-radio already, and it actually goes
Yeah.
back quite a few generations. That's nice.
Correct.
That's
and then that's the only thing we're waiting on is to work on the software and firmware to like look at going to the let's say the FTDX 5000, the 3000, those kind of things like that on there, or doing the 891 or something like that on there.
That was my question. Is the 891 on the radar for this device?
I was going to say it should be.
It is, and I don't know the time frame yet. That's the one kind of unfortunately aspect that sometimes doesn't get released to me on a regular basis.
Right.
Is this like what is on there, and engineering I know is working on it. They're, you know, and right now not necessarily issues with this, but like component issues and stuff like that we're dealing with. Our engineering team is really rugged and tired, and I'm sure they're going to be extremely happy once we're out of this whole conundrum.
So what it sounds like is if you bleed Yaesu, then you're going to want to get one of these because it will work with almost every Yaesu radio going back 3 or 4 generations. And they're asking about, you know, does it work with the 450? Probably, because it's got that interface connector. Does it work with the 857D? You're going to see some differences in the software because the 450 doesn't have the same functionality as the 101, and I would hope that it doesn't. But you should be able to get this LAN 10 device to control a wide variety of Yaesu radios. So I would stay tuned to that.
Yeah, and like I said, right now it's not there. I'll tell you that it's not there. We have it working with the 101 and the FTDX10, and we're out of stock on it. Like I said, many people have been purchasing it. I actually, even myself as an employee, I have an order in, and I've been sitting with my order for about almost 6 months right now.
Well, yeah, you should be the bottom of the list. The customer should be first.
No, experimentation. Come on. Come on. No, but that's where we're sitting at is, we are looking to do that on there because we know that is the way of the future. We know that's how people do want to operate. Like I said, when I was playing with my test one and stuff, it was great. It was like, I mean, literally, it's like I can go out on the porch. I have somewhat of a high-speed ham, well, I shouldn't say ham, but more of a mesh network that I run a lot of my ham stuff on. And that was amazing on it to be able to do that. And then like I had to give it back, and I was like, maybe I should have it one more week. And like, no, and I was like, okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's stuff is coming. Stuff is coming for it. But in the meantime, though, remote control, let's talk about FT8. Let's talk about RTTY and everything like that. Sound cards are great in there. Our sound cards are pretty standard across the board. So you are literally just hooking up a what we call a USB printer cable. Some people know that as compared, it's got one end, it's got a USB A, the other end's got the USB B. Yep. And if you don't know what a USB B looks like, it kind of looks like a weird little house on there, but you simply plug those into the back of the 101, you plug it into the 10, you plug it into even the 991, and you just connect it into the software. What is it? WJ, help me out here. What's
WSJTX?
There you go. That on there plays perfectly. And the nice thing about that is the 991, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't done FT8 on the FTDX10 yet. But the nice thing about that is it's got the full commands through the USB. So when you want to change the free, you drop it down there, you select that 991 as the radio option on there, and then you just click, and then all the commands go through there, and your radio just switches right for you. So it is quite a little piece of work there.
Excellent.
So, but yeah, it's quite, like I said, quite interesting world out there. We do have some other plans that I'm trying to think what I can and can't say.
You can tell us everything. We'll keep it quiet. We will not share this with the world.
Just us three.
Just us three, right? We're on the sharing circle.
Yeah.
We do have plans for other radios coming down the line. Unfortunately, we can't discuss them or anything like that. As I've said numerous times in the past, good things are coming. I said that, before the FTDX10 came out, and then no, nothing's coming. You're just saying that 10 came out and there was much happiness. Yay. And then we had the 300 come out. Then we had the 5 come out and
you
stuff.
guys have been on a roll.
We have been. And a lot of people say, well, it's not really new radios, it's replacing radios. Well, technically every new radio comes out replaces an old radio. So yes, it is a replacement. But
that's how evolution works. Yeah.
It's right. Kind of, we build off of what was there before. But we do have things in the works. Like I said, the biggest thing that I can tell everybody is, and I said it at Hamvention and I've said it other places, we have to make sure we have enough components to make sure we can continue to produce radios. So we can't continue to produce radios. We can't make radios. We can't make money from radios. We can't put that into R&D. And, people said, oh, you're using this as an excuse and stuff. I will tell you this. When Sony, who has more money than God, okay, once they start making enough PlayStation 5s to have them on the shelf that you could just walk into Best Buy or Target or Walmart or wherever and take a PlayStation home, then you could say the component shortage is over and all of us will be breathing a sigh of relief. Until that time, we're having to do a very good balance. I have people that say, oh, when are you guys going to come out with the IC705 killer? When are you going to come out with the 9700 killer? And I've told people, you know what? We may not be the first to the market, but we're not going to rush to put crap on the street. And when we do come out, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking at that 6000. That 6000 looks pretty interesting to me right now.
The mobile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then there's a question in the chat about SSB mobile radio too. Any plans on one of those?
As in like a 2-meter thing and stuff?
Yeah, 2 meter 440 mobile that does SSB.
I got asked that earlier, and it's hard to say because what we've done is when we've looked at in the past, when we've done a lot of the radios that are only 2 meter or 440 sideband, you can buy the few. So we're going back like FT 736s, okay? Going back about the mid 90s on there and stuff like that. When people want that, they want 100 watts. They want a lot of power on there. And as I said earlier, it's amazing. And I'm not no engineer or nothing, but when you kind of are lucky enough to go to the office and talk to some of the people and learn some of the stuff on the protected scrolls, you can find out that, and doesn't make sense, but look at all the small QRP rigs. It's a heck of a lot easier to get high wattage out of HF bands and HF equipment than it is to go ahead and get high wattage out of VHF and UHF equipment. And
Right.
I know it sounds weird, and even then when that was told to me, it was like, huh, why, like that. And then I've shown numerous different references through the years and the ages and stuff, and we have to really take a look to see if it's going to work. I mean, it's just like 220. It's, people say come out with the 220, come out with the 220, and I'll tell you, we had 220 radios in the past, and we kind of just stopped making them because 220 is really a North America band. And
at the end of the day, everybody's got to remember two things, and you just nailed part of it. Yaesu is not an American company. They have a Japanese and European markets, and I would imagine the Japanese market's even bigger. But it's what's going to sell, because they got to be able to make it and sell it and make a profit while they're doing it. But there's production costs, and unless they can recoup their production costs, there's 5 guys over in Oklahoma who want some 220, but they're not really going to pay for the production costs of making it.
Well, exactly.
It sucks, but it's the way it is.
Well, yeah, it is. And, here's the other thing, too. So let's say we came out with the 220 radio. In this case, as an example.
No offense to Oklahoma.
Yeah. Kansas. We'll blame Kansas. But it's kind of like, I'll give you the FT5 for an example. We had people that were upset with the FT5 handheld because it had an orange PTT button and it said MEM scan and VFO scan. Right.
I can't be stealth with that, man.
Exactly. And it was just like, and I said, okay, so what? We make a 220 radio, and because someone doesn't like it because the channel knob is like 3 millimeters too far to the left for them, and no one buys it, then it's just kind of like our research and development team. I do have to say, God bless them. And I'm glad that they keep them walled off in Japan and in their area of the building, where they don't have to deal with the world and stuff, and they can just do what they need to do.
How dare you not make a product that doesn't satisfy every single human being's need on the planet all at once simultaneously?
I had a 70D for a long time, and I hated it because it required 2 hands to change the volume. Y'all fixed it. I'm happy. We're good. It's all good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't care about the orange button.
But exactly, that's it. It's just like, oh, okay. All right. Well, until then,
Don, shut up. Don talking smack about Alabama.
But yeah, no, that's kind of where we're at, and we're progressing. We're working. It's we're still working, trying to get things out, and I think once we can get over this, I think 2023 you're going to start to see some more things. I know a lot of people are disappointed we didn't have any news or breaking things that Ham mentioned, but we gave a lot. I gotta admit,
I was really hoping.
Hey, Chris,
I was really hoping there'd be something cool coming out, just because.
Well, you guys put the 200 out at Hamcation, so
no,
right?
No,
is it
right after? To be pedantic, yeah.
Oh my God, yes, it's there was emails. I'll just put it. There was emails exchange going. What? Why Monday? Why I had to fly back Monday? Why? I tell you, I got my worth of the internet on the plane that day.
And the remote radio thing. Honestly, there's 10 ways to approach that, at least. That it's irrelevant, what radio you have, whether it's a Yaesu radio or an ICOM radio or Kenwood or, to some extent, even an Alinco or a whole lot of other second, third tier brands. But, I've got the ICOM solution. It's not, I'll be honest, I think it sucks. I paid money for it. I think it's
the RSBA one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hot garbage. Yep. Never liked it. And I said, well, I don't even know why I bought this, because I honestly just use remote management software. I remote into a Windows PC here that's USB to the radio. Did that with my 7300. Did it with the 7610.
Jim, I have to say,
and Ham Radio Deluxe and to kick on the radio.
If it was 2001, 2002 time frame, and you had that RSBA one software, you would be impressed.
Right.
But it's 2022.
Back when W was president, it'd be really cool. Nuclear. But in 2022, that software is hot garbage, and that they charge money for that. I'm like, son, really?
Well, and
So
that's
there's
what, that's what people said. I've heard people do the same thing. They're like, I use Google Desktop into it, or I do
yes,
these kind of things, and
I use remote PC. It's the
Yeah.
same. Windows Remote Desktop, Google Desktop, VNC, Apple Remote Desktop, which is basically overpriced VNC. There's 27 ways to control the radio, and with smart devices, I have a smart plug connected to it. Got a smart companion on my phone.
Ooh,
Tell her to
I wanna
turn
know
the
about
radio
that.
on. Radio
Nice.
comes on. That kicks on
I
the
wanna
power
see-
supply. Ham Radio Deluxe turns on the radio. FT8 for Jesus all afternoon at work. Boss thinks I'm doing some important scientific networky things. Hope he's not watching. No, I'm pretty sure he would.
Well, I mean, it is communications, and you are in a communications
I am the network.
type
Network guy. So
adjacent thing. So yeah, you're just running diagnostics and
I'm
visualizing.
doing real-time network visualization,
Right.
production testing.
Well, that's a good way to
We
put
got
it. I
this.
like that. That's good.
I'm taking notes.
And we can sling some poo. So there's 27 ways to do it, and whether you like Yaesu's solution or ICOMs, you're weird if you like ICOMs. There's a whole lot of ways to do that. Steve, don't you use VNC or something like that all the time?
Yeah, I
don't
use
you remote
VNC
your
either.
station?
Yep. Actually, I'm going to remote my station here in about 15 minutes on the FT8 off, and my station is right there. It's
yeah.
I've got a MacBook Air that's running Ubuntu 2004 that's doing VNC serving and WSJTX and some other stuff that I do with it, and then it's connected up to my radio stack, whatever radio I happen to be using at the moment. So
Yeah, until the SDR control thing came out, that's what I was doing every day on our FT8 offs. Is I remoted from my Mac sitting here to the Windows box behind the curtain that you can't see.
pay no
Yeah.
attention
In
to
the
that
same
radio
room.
behind the curtain.
Well,
Pay
and
no
then
attention.
and a lot of people are. I know there's some guys like. I mean, well, you look like at All Star for an example. I mean, that's really for the most part, doing a lot of that same stuff there too. I mean, it's just so there. Like I said, we offer a solution because there are people that want to do. If I have a Yaesu radio, I want a Yaesu microphone, I want a Yaesu this, I want a Yaesu this, and then there's other people that's like, hey, I just want to do this, and that's why I said, hey, it's sky's the limit. Opens up, connect the stuff to your radios all the time. We'll get a call once a month, or I'll get an email once a month, someone saying, hey, I did this, and we're like, really? That's pretty darn awesome.
Yeah, there's like I said, there's 20 ways to skin that cat, and all of them work honestly equally well.
Jim, you talk a lot about skin and cats today. I wonder if you have
It's
this
a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
problem with cats.
No, I have no problem with cats unless she jumps up here on the desk and lays down all the time, and then her butt is hitting the stream, the camera. It's like, stop! I had to chase her off earlier.
That's a cat catastrophe. It's a
A
catastrophe.
cat
Astrophe.
Yes, it was
Cat-
a cat
oh.
astrophe. Yeah.
Yes, I was trying my best not to. I just couldn't help it.
Yeah. But it's what are you going to do though? As we kind of go ahead and just continue to evolve, and we're going to get there. We're definitely going to get there.
Yeah, I see a ICOM fanboy in the chat yelling at me because I was talking bad about ICOM. And
It's a Yaesu stream. We have to talk bad about
It's a
ICOM. Wait till the
Yaesu stream,
ICOM guy
first off.
comes on, then we'll talk bad about Yaesu. That's
See
how
the
this
see the
works.
man sign. That's who pays his rent. No, honestly, I don't care. I am vendor agnostic because I have a Yaesu HT. This is my second Yaesu HT. I've had a 991. I've had an 891. I've had an 857. I think I've lost track. I don't know. It's a tool, and I change out tools. Right now, I'm kind of more ICOM-y, but ICOM-y, that doesn't sound very good. I switch hit. Let's go that way. I'm the Chipper Jones of ham radio.
Yeah, you switch hit. That's even better, Jim.
Okay. God almighty. Back in the day, it didn't mean that. When you said your partner, you didn't mean your partner, right?
Right.
My partner, John, that meant we were buddies. That didn't mean we were living together.
Partner.
I'm old.
You are.
But we have some
Oh
good
my
sayings in Wisconsin too, so we really can't talk too much.
True.
Yeah. So
we still got 11 minutes to vamp on this.
but you guys, because you just remote in because you're okay. So,
Spit it out, John.
no, I'm just saying. So I guess this brings up a good point because you were saying Apple and Ubuntu and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's another thing about our stuff. Our stuff runs on Windows.
I'm sorry.
And well, yeah, it's there. It's there. It's not. It's
a tool. It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a
no
tool.
attention
It's
to
a
him.
tool. It's a tool. And then
He brought it up.
Well, I did bring it up because we have to understand that we are sometimes, even as a manufacturer, at the mercy of Windows and Microsoft. And lately, Microsoft had their little "I'm going to grab my toys and leave the sandbox and go home" with the whole Windows drivers thing with Windows 11 for many different people and manufacturers and stuff on there. But it is what it is, and hey, that's one of the things that you work at. But I think it just kind of comes in another play. Our stuff is built on Windows platform. Some people may not like that. Others may like open source software. I know a lot of people like Ham Radio Deluxe, and Win for Yaesu is kind of Windows itself. But yeah, it's an interesting world we live in. I think right now more than ever, my personal opinion, I even said this at Hamvention, is that we were getting a lot of technical questions. Like a lot of time people were thinking of things, and it was quite interesting because usually the people come through, well, what can this radio do? What can this radio do? And tell me why I should buy this radio over an ICOM radio or Kenwood or whatever. But no, it was like you could see that there's a lot of people that are thinking, and with this aspect of kind of what you guys have even talked about, yeah, there are a lot of people that are thinking, that are saying, hey, if I want a general solution, I can make the solution myself, or I can buy the solution. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
But also too is, yeah, we're to answer the question, because I usually get this kind of thing asked and stuff. No, we're not planning on making software for Apple, that kind of thing like that. Programming software, we let, I think, RT Systems do that. And then, for interfacing to other computers, we know there's a lot of Apple software out there. And why should we reinvent the wheel so many times when it's the same wheel?
Right.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, I never met a radio I didn't like. There were some I like less. Some are not my favorites.
Well, there was one radio back in 90. No.
I mean, hell, I even like a Fang, right?
We all have to at one time or the other. I'll have to. We all did. I think everybody's had a Baofeng at one time.
I still have it.
Yep.
Still have it. I'm not scared. I'll say it. 8 made me buy it, but I have some Fangs.
That's Ape. That's Ape.
Right.
Where are those guys anyways today? They're sloughing off today or what?
Chuck is I think it's both family things for them. 8 may have had to report to his PO and couldn't make it, but
so Chuck's been having some medical issues this weekend. We didn't want to say it, but this isn't the 80 meter chat. But John did get it started, so it's safe topicality there. And then Ape has been having some old man bladder issues. So,
ooh.
I waited till Jim started drinking before I said that one.
Son of a.
Oh. Well, yeah, and I know you guys were doing it. I appreciate you letting reaching out to us and saying, "Hey, would you come on?" It's always, your channel is always a great time. I always enjoy it on there. I wish I was not lately so busy with things that on Saturday and Sunday mornings, but now with school coming to an end and the girls active and things like that, it's Saturday and Sunday mornings are just as busy as the weekday mornings. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So we got a couple of questions for you on the way out the door here.
Sure.
John, you're John. Dirk is asking if you're going to Hams in the Park. That's June 12th on the Interstate Park up on the St. Croix River in St. Croix Falls area.
No. Right now, no. I was looking at that. I'm trying to even nail down stuff for field day. Even I've been invited out to 3 different field day events within the Northwest, West Central Wisconsin. Yeah, I am. And so it's just like, okay, well, let me see what it is. But I have birthdays coming up in June here for some important people that I have to do, and that's one of the weekends that it's going to fall on. So probably I will not, but I would love to. It's not that far away either.
All right. And then Morton is asking a completely off-topic question, a bit of a side topic, but am I correct to assume I can remote control the DR1X through the HRI-200? First off, explain what those things are for those of us that don't have your repeater products, and then it would save him some trips for things that need adjusting.
So the DR1X is the first generation of our Yaesu System Fusion repeater technology on there. The HRI-200, which kind of we said earlier that the LAN 10 looks a lot like the HRI-200. What that is basically an interface where you connect your computer to that, and then that allows you to connect it to like a DR1X or a mobile radio to use as a donor, and then you can go through the Wires X network on there. Answering the question and controlling it, no, there's not a way to control per se the repeater through there. There is that the HRI-200 more so controls the aspects of the gateway for the audio and stuff on there. The DR1X, or if you have the later version firmware of it, does allow you to send some commands over the air to enable or disable it, but it's somewhat limited as to what it can do. There's no way to like get in and change frequencies or tones or output levels or anything like that.
Okay. And Morton, let me know if that answers your question. And...
John, you're going to be at Huntsville?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's this year we were taking a look at the shows. We know a lot of shows were getting back. We kind of saw what happened at Dayton with some people, or Hamvention, I should say, start saying that better. And some people did get sick overall, not just any one person or stuff that I know. So was a little bit of concern, but we are looking at doing Huntsville, and then we might do a few small other shows in between. We're not 100% sure just yet on there. We don't where our concern is that when we send out office staff, we don't want anybody to get sick or stuff like that. Like a good example is, what do? We come back from Huntsville, or not Huntsville, excuse me, Hamvention, and guess what ends up happening? We having issues with our phones. So our phones have been down all week, so we're doing everything by there. But you can imagine the rumor mill that has started there. Like we had one person go down there, Yaesu's out of business, they close it. And no, phone things, we're gonna get done. We'll be back, that kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, we're kind of gauging it slowly. Going to be doing a little more myself. I'm going to be getting out a little bit more and hitting some local shows, giving some more technical presentations. I'm going down to, for example, technically the south suburbs of Chicago and the northwest area of Indiana. I'm going to be doing some technical stuff with them and getting things to work for them and that kind of things. So it's going to be fun. We're going to slowly get back into it, but Huntsville, I'll be there. And then probably the HRO Superfest if they have it.
Cool.
Excellent.
John, thank you for being on the show. This has been great.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And then there is a link at the top of the chat for the festivities that are going on while this show is live. If you're catching this show on Team Replay, thank you very much. Team Replay for the win. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think about it. If you have any additional questions, and we'll try to wrangle this feller up and get some more information for you. Coming up next is another FT8 off, and I'm going to hand it over to Jim to say some closing words, and we're going to shut it all down. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. I hope everybody's enjoyed the YouTubers Hamfest so far. It's been a lot of content. I closed it down with Hayden last night at dark 30. So my wife was like, "What time did you come to bed? Don't you worry about it. You'll be all right."
Ignoring you.
But John, thank you for being on here, guys. Thank you for all the questions in the chat. Y'all dropped out some good ones, and we will see you again soon. I'm going to hit the go button now.